like a 2 minutes and then be like, "What do you mean we won't record?"
But you are old.
Yeah. Sorry, I was making sure we were. I was not ready. I wasn't. You can't throw it at me when I'm sitting to make sure everything's actually working. No. So real talk. So we are recording this on the 16th of April.
Yes.
We are about There's a reason I'm bringing this up. We're 3 days away from episode 3 coming out. I just gave our editor episode 3 because I thought I gave it to him about a month or two ago. I gave him episode 1 and 2, and then I realized I forgot. Cause I just texted him this one like, "Hey," no, last night. I was like, "Hey."
How's episode 3 coming on?
Well, no, I was just like, "Hey, like, did I ever send you episode 3?" 'Cause I'm like, "I'm sure I did." I was like, he probably already sent it to me. I forgot. I find Google Drive hard to manage when it's the shared files. I always feel it's a different section of that. It's on the homepage, and then that's when he was like, "No," and I was like, "He's like," I'm like, "Well, here's episode 3." I'm like, "Can you get it done by Friday morning?" Which is very unrealistic to ask. Especially when you only have these few days. Today's Wednesday, not Tuesday. So yeah, he only has like 2 days to get it done.
Yeah.
And he was like, "I can't guarantee that." And I'm just like, "You do what you could do."
Worst case, it might just be a Friday night episode.
It might be a Friday night episode. Y'all would know by the time this episode, because this is episode 4.
It's our whatever's happened has happened at this point. So you guys know, we don't.
That's why I'm like, worst case scenario. I'm like, it is what it is. I told him that we were recording this episode today. And I'm like, I will send it to you. I'm like, you don't have to work on it today, but I'm going to send it to you the moment it's done recording, so you have it and you can work on it and have more than like a day and a half to work on it. And I told him I greatly apologize. Because I felt really bad, and that was the first time Tom's hearing about this too.
Yes, this is the first time I'm hearing about it.
I wasn't like deliberately keeping it secret, but I was like, I'm just shoving that in the back of my head now. It's being taken care of. I don't have to worry about it anymore. No, but that's why I had the episode up on my computer.
I saw that, and I was like, oh. Other episode. Maybe that's the file that Denmark sent him today or something.
See, I thought about it. I'm like, that's probably what he thinks it is. But I'm like, we don't need to worry about that now.
We just upload the raw file.
Honestly, that one we got pretty into it really quick.
No, that one was good. I think at that point,
we were just trying to get it done. So we did 3 episodes in one night.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
Which I think in the future, I think the max I want to ever do is 2. But getting into that, doing this podcast and like starting at like doing the announcement video, like it's been a really big learning process.
This to give more context, this is the first episode we're recording after we've launched episode 1 and 2.
Yes.
I guess actually using context clues, I just said episode 3 is coming this Friday. I feel when you're on the internet, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, I feel like you have to baby everything.
You have to be very clear, or else people won't get it. Yeah. Because you can't assume everyone's seen everything. Like, someone might be coming into this episode being their first episode.
Yeah. So I think that's a better way.
Also interesting, we're in a completely new location.
We are in a new location. We got a studio. That probably peaked the mic.
Yeah, probably did. It's fine.
I gotta be more.
Denmark will deal with it. Now that I know he's gonna like respond,
I can imagine his editing.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
he's
talk
right
to
here
him
now. Yeah,
this is him. He's right. Here's Denmark. I clip this. It should be a great short.
Denmark, do a face reveal put your webcam right here. God, don't do that.
No,
Denmark.
you know what he's going to do? He's going to take a photo of his webcam and put it there. 'Cause he
Put
said,
your webcam
that's
right
what
here.
you say. He said, put your
Now
webcam
he's really
here.
gonna do it, and he's gonna cut this part where we talked about it.
He probably is. He's probably going to cut all this nonsense. But no, honestly, that's honestly even a better opening topic. It's just shut up. No, but I have to give context for that.
Mhm.
No,
No context needed.
no context. Denmark can cut it out whatever he thinks is better. We're gonna keep moving on. No, but like you were saying, starting this podcast. So we record the first 3 episodes in like right off the new year,
Mhm.
and then we upload them in March.
Yeah.
March. We started in April 1st.
April, yes. No, yeah.
April, and we've done Fridays on April. And this would be the last one of April, so the full month. But just starting out, it's been quite. I don't know if I want to say roller coaster.
It's been
It's been a water ride. It's been like the log. It's been a log flume. It's been a log flume.
You
I
know
would
how
say.
like when you're going to actually no, that doesn't make any sense. I was gonna say you know like you're traveling to a different state and
Mm.
like the states definitely have different standards for roads, and so
Mm.
you're going through one road and then you like get to a new one and it's like
How about going to one of the good standards?
we're going to New York.
It's like good. I've never been to New York.
Well, you know how Pennsylvania roads are.
No, I've never been to freaking Pennsylvania.
Oh, that's too bad.
We're gonna go when we go to too many gates. You know I haven't traveled a lot. I've been to like 5 states.
Well,
We're gonna be
there's
going.
definitely a difference between the two of
We're
them.
gonna be going to 2 new states when we go. For me, I'll be going to 2 new states.
Yeah.
Let you guess which 2 they'll be.
Well, I don't want to say them. Well, I mean, unless you want to, we're just gonna.
anyhow, we need to get at. So pretty much, but yeah, no. So we have actually seen y'all's reactions, we've seen y'all's comments, and we greatly appreciate it, especially on the, at least on my end. I know my announcement video had a really positive response, and that made me really happy, and I was glad. It wasn't until you pointed out.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize how well it did until you or someone pointed
It's
out, and I was
almost at
like,
200 views now.
I know it keeps doing really well. I'm like, I should make another video like this.
You should.
It was a lot of fun.
I love making videos.
Yeah,
Which is interesting.
yeah. Actually, I'll let you take the
So
floor on that.
so
Yeah.
we've talked about this before, but just in the process of getting episode 1 up and like seeing what Denmark did and just going back to that conversation we had in January, a lot of things aged great, by the way. But the thing that aged the best is our first like topic was just talking about YouTube, and it was mainly you because I have done stuff with you, but I hadn't.
It was
at
mainly
that-
my journey through
Yeah.
YouTube, and then your journey kind of latching on.
Just kind of
with
leeching off of
me.
yours.
Yeah. I
But
don't want to say leeching. That sounds aggressive.
it was like you're the main branch, and I had like a tiny branch.
Yeah.
But now the tiny branch has been cut off, and it's now a whole new tree on its own.
I don't know if I'll say that.
I'm not directly
No.
tied to you
I
in
just
everything
sorry
that I
when
do.
you made a tiny branch comparison. I thought of so I'm gonna call it Denmark here. I'm gonna call it multiple YouTubers. So Denmark. If you type in just Denmark for multiple reasons, but if you just type that in, even if you put in like Mario Kart, a lot of times it doesn't show up. But I noticed if you put Joey64 with it, it immediately shows up. With your channel, it's the same way. With
Yeah.
Marsha's channel, it's the same way. I think Ken's has a couple thousand subscribers, so I think Horse does show up.
Mhm.
But I do know a Switch tour with Horse is Joey64, and I think there's some other friends of mine I've collabed with. Just because I am
You're the biggest.
I am the big dog.
Yeah.
Which I'm not the like flaunt, but like
He's the godfather.
yeah.
Of this weird space of YouTube we're
of
creating.
the 64 family.
Yes, pretty much.
I'm gonna keep pushing that name until someone catches on. I feel like it never is, but I really like the idea of that. Of like this, like a big, at least a collab group that I won.
You maintain, but
No,
no. So basically, I started a channel because the real thing is of course we went to DC and I said, oh, I'm gonna make a vlog. I just wanted to make a vlog. I didn't have any specific plans to
so I think we were talking about you uploading on my channel.
We talked
initially.
about uploading your channel. We talked about this channel because we were still kind of like floating around ideas of what to do. And I was just like, I did it, and then I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it on mine because I
Yeah,
had
you just
like
did it.
yeah, I had like 3 or I think it was like 3 or 5 subscribers on this from where people like subscribed to me when I was in your chat. But I just did it, and now that video is like 900. No, not 900. Phew. 90 views. 90 views, and it still gets a lot of views consistently, and it
It's
kind of
good.
ignited my kind of YouTube journey, I guess, because now I've
Yeah.
been making videos. I've mostly been focusing on like more video essay type stuff if I
Mhm.
had to give anything, but I'm honestly very experimentative, just throwing out anything that I'm like, that'd be fun to make a video on, and I just do it. And I
Yeah.
think that's really, really been fun.
No, I'm glad. My favorite part of YouTube is making videos, which is ironic because I don't make a lot of videos. But like legitimately, it's just it takes for me and my standards of quality. Not your videos are very high quality,
Hmm.
but my standards of quality and what I want to do takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. And it's like I don't have the time.
Well, you just have longer projects. Like a lot of my stuff is like, I mean, I'm working on a video now that's going to
Mm,
hit like the 10, 12 minute mark, but a lot of mine is just like, I think the max at this point is 7.
yeah.
And that's just a simple like update video that I made because I was like,
Mm,
hey guys, this is a thing that exists now.
yeah.
And like that's the longest. Typically I am for 5, and like I put a lot of work into those 5 minute videos, and it just
Yeah.
takes so much time. I
Well, and
think.
that's imagine that, but like my Mario 64 sequel
Hmm.
video that was nearly 50 minutes long, and I probably put about a similar amount of effort that you did in that video, that 5 minute video you made on whatever,
Just 3 times over.
3 times over. Now
Yeah.
imagine doing that 3 times over, but also having to make shorts, and not that you don't make shorts or don't live stream,
Hmm.
but
I just don't do it as often
but
as you.
you just kind of stream like
Whenever.
whenever you're like, oh, like I'm gonna stream like tonight and like play Minecraft or whatever. Or you'll just do like or shorts. You'll like
Hmm.
a lot of times you do the smart thing. You cut up like your video segments into shorts, or like you'll just random like, oh, I have like 4 ideas for shorts, and you like pump them all out, and then you will do shorts for like 3 weeks.
I've been trying to do better about that though, because if I have an idea and I haven't made a short that day, I'll do it. But then I'll like, if I get another idea, I'll like, okay, I'm gonna save that one for tomorrow,
Yeah, or
just because it's better.
yeah, schedule it.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's the best thing to do. I have a bad habit of like, okay, I'm gonna make like 4 or 5 shorts. I'm gonna schedule them out, and I forget to schedule it, and I
And they
just
just
hit
sit on
public.
your.
And I've done that before. I think one day, like I just did a ton of shorts, and I was not paying attention. I looked at my phone, and I saw I upload like 8 shorts in like a 30-minute time
Hmm.
span.
And that doesn't do so well because I would.
It
It does all right,
it depends.
but in the long, it depends
In
on
the
what it
long
is.
term, it does really good.
Mm.
But I mean, like the long, like
After they've been in
2 or 3 months
algorithm.
later term.
Yeah.
Because I have some shorts that just randomly. What is it? It's the well, this one's always done good, but the one I did on the Sonic lore, where I throw the toaster
Hmm.
around. That one,
Because that one pops into my feed sometimes, and I'm
that
like, that's funny.
that one consistently keeps doing really well, and that one averages about 1,000 views a day. Like
That's good.
legitimately, that is where the majority of my views come every day. But honestly, I'm glad because it's one I'm proud of.
Hmm.
The one that gets the second most views is the stupid Bart Simpson fist bump one I made, and that one gets like 400 views a day, and like it's funny. Like I'm definitely
It's not the
I
what you want to be known for.
that, like this gets into a much deeper topic, and I'm sure I have multiple views on YouTube in general, and I want to get to our main topic
Hmm.
before we go on for too long. But one of my big things to step away from like the meme content is mainly just because I was like, whenever I try to do other stuff, I'm like, I lost the identity that I had,
Hmm.
and I find I really struggled for a while to build back up my original identity. Where I almost like honestly, I've said this a little bit, and I'll say it again. I feel like doing the meme shorts was probably one of the like biggest mistakes I made
Hmm.
on my channel because now it's like it's it's one of those things where like the majority of people are looking for that. That's what the algorithm's looking for. It's not really glad with something like this, where it's like fresh slate.
Hmm.
I have like 7 years of experience. You have a good amount of experience working with me,
Hmm.
and then now your own channel. And I'm like, okay, like we can make sure, like, not that we're not gonna make mistakes, but we know. Well, I don't think we're gonna.
Generally, we know what makes a video
We
do
know
it
what we're
better.
doing.
Yeah.
Like, and I've always said I'm not gonna make another channel, but I'm not gonna act like I haven't thought about making a new channel. But that's why we have this. I have Music 64, which is much more of just a I just want to throw stuff out there.
Hmm.
And I've thought if I ever get to this point, I don't know if I will. I have pondered the idea of making just a channel where I just upload meme shorts.
Hmm.
But for now, I'm just kind of like, like the main drive for me with making those wasn't at least in the long term, it wasn't out of making like creation. It was I was chasing after the numbers.
Yeah.
And there was some good short term gain from it, from like the initial ones I did. But I feel like over time I strayed further and further to eventually it was just like, okay, what can I stitch together? What are the keywords I could find and then find clips that it was just like I fell into such a trap that I feel like I didn't really get out of it till like this year.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is the first year I've sort of like, okay, like I still do shorts, but that's really like behind me now.
Mm-hmm.
Fully out of that pretty much. I am trying to focus more on videos and streams. I'm focusing on different avenues that I want to focus on, and I think the biggest thing, that's the last thing I'll say on this. I know I'm going on for a while. My biggest waking up point was the charity stream, the 2024 winter party stream,
Mm-hmm.
because we saw a severe drop in. I look at all. I don't look at analytics a lot, but when it comes to the charity streams, I look at a lot of analytics because I want to know where do we need to change.
Mm-hmm.
I want those to be as successful as it can be. That's why I'm very, this for the media, I'm very anal about every little detail.
Yes.
Like I shut down a lot of ideas. I try to be as open as I can, but there's a lot of ideas I'm very hesitant on because I've looking at all the patterns from the 8 or so events we've done. Roughly, it might be more like 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, that one I know is a severe lack of viewership, and I think a part of that was attributed to my channel where it was at that point of I feel like I was trying to please so many different audiences to the point where it was not pleasing anybody,
Mm-hmm.
not even like a lot of my core fan base. And a lot of people did. A lot of y'all did stick around. Y'all still here now, and I'm greatly appreciative for it. But I definitely lost some people, and I definitely it took a hurt. I took damage last year. Um, we talked about me doing the short streams, which
Yeah.
I did for nearly a year, and I think that was another thing of like, I feel like I'm more, for lack of a better term, I saw the money in my eyes, the metaphorical money that I did not get,
Mm-hmm.
but like I think I was chasing that for so long after the explosion of success I had back in 2021, 2022,
Mm-hmm.
and now I'm rebuilding that new identity for myself.
No, and I think having that angle has been really useful for me too, because like I do make a lot of shorts because it's mostly just a time thing for me. Like I would rather put all my effort into making one long video, which I am doing, but when like I just have a random idea and I'm like, oh, that would be funny, I'll do it. But I've been very intentional about not making all of my shorts memes. I do make some meme shorts, and I try not to just make them to make them. It has to be like a topic that I care about. Like I'm not going to be talking about like Rick and Morty in my like memes. I'm not going to make like a Rick and Morty meme. It has to be like something that like I've made a video on or just something that I'm passionate about already, and I'm just like, this would be a funny joke to put out there. But also I've done a few other shorts that are more like just different topics, because I showed you the one where I was talking about the AI Ghibli stuff.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting short. I really liked doing that one, and a lot of the comments on that one were so like really kind and like just like this is such a good message, and I felt good about putting that one up. And just the drawing aspect, that was interesting. It's like never done anything.
I'm glad
like
to hear that one
before.
did well. I didn't look
at first
too much at it.
At first it was interesting because wasn't doing great, but then 2 days later it picked up really fast, and I was like, oh, that's crazy.
Did you start that challenge, or
no?
Is that okay. I personally have not heard of that before until I saw
a lot of people are kind of doing it, and I just was kind of like, oh, I kind of want to do something like this just to put it out there. And then I was just like, oh, I should throw this out there and like get other people involved, so it makes it bigger, just because I think it's an important message.
Yeah.
But also something else I have been getting into more recently is photography. And so some shorts that I make are just reels of photos that I've taken.
That's cool.
And those don't do like, they obviously don't do the same
those I couldn't imagine it too well.
But actually, the last one I did cracked around 700. Usually standard for me is about 1,000. And so, and even on that one, there was like a comment on there that was like, these pictures are really good. I really like them. And I'm like, thanks. Because my idea with those is I'm very new to the photography world, and I know there's a lot of like stuff
You
when
just
it
want to
comes
throw
to
your
that.
stuff out
Yeah,
there.
I just want to like throw it out there where people can see it. They can give ideas, tell them like just see it because it's cool. And
You know what those would do really good on?
what
Wheels.
Hmm.
Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah,
they're short form.
They're,
That's more that audience.
Yes, it definitely is.
If you want to revive my old Facebook page, back when I made.
I'm pretty happy with the format I have now because it's kind of like I call it Noob Photography Hour, and it has like a funny intro, and then it just gets into
fun.
it. I enjoy it, but
yeah, no, yeah, I think that's probably just generally like that's the big thing in your life from the last year was the channel.
Yeah,
you properly committed to the channel, and me committed to a new direction. I feel like I say this every year, but like legitimately this year, I feel like I like the direction we're going. I have like the thumbnails. I love the thumbnails. I have the little blue and yellow border, which is so simple. Like this is mine, and then I like the style. I have like very sometimes I have people make thumbnails for me, and there was a list of things. Those it does you may not think it so, but I have a ton of rules when it comes to my thumbnails. It's the border, they have to be at a 255-degree angle for the bevel. I know that. There's the if I ever do outlines, I never do outlines. I don't do drop shots. I usually do drop shots. I don't do anymore. It has to be a I do outer glows. I never do inner glows. I don't like how those look. But it has to be outer glows. They have to be feathered, like fully feathered, so they're not like taking up too much of the space. It doesn't look like a spotlight, so just to enhance it, like an outline, but it's not a simple outline. I have a lot of little rules. I use Roboris font with the same blue and yellow shade that is used in the outline.
Border. Yeah.
In the border, yes. And all that has sorts of parameters as well. And I'm very particular how everything is. And I've had multiple people work on thumbnails for me in the past, and I kind of got all those pieces. I think the border was my idea. I don't think anyone else came with that, but like I know the font was originally Denmark's idea. Not exactly that one. I picked one that I really liked that was similar. It's kind of if you put that one's more meant to be like a grungy kind of one. It's supposed to. I've used that one before for like Minecraft thumbnails, but simply just changing the colors makes it look so much better.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll stray away from that font, like Nintendo any reaction thumbs. I use the Amoanth font, which every time I look at it, I might think of the streamer. It's very similar to her name. I can't remember how you pronounce her name, but it's Amawath is the font name, and that's what I use. It's more of like it's not Arial and it's not Impact, but it's very similar. But doesn't just feel? It feels just different enough.
But it's not just like meme text, like Impact
font. Yeah,
it's just like still a font that's eye catching.
Yeah, but it stands out. That's what I use for the reactions. I don't know. Sometimes I flip flop, but no, I've been really happy with how the thumbnails have been. I've been trying to experiment more. A rule I've given myself now is no game logos. I feel like that takes up too much real estate. And I rather if it's a game, people are gonna know it from the artwork, and if they don't, that should entice them to want to see it. Don't maybe like Road 96 because that the logo for that game kind of goes like with the game. That one, but like Galaxy 2, that was the first big game, and that was the first game I streamed this year. I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. I am gonna have, I had I forgot what I did for the thumbnails at the beginning, but then I did the Green Stars, where I made like 5 different versions of the Green Star, and I sent them to you.
Oh yeah, those guys. Yeah,
I sent y'all just the final 2. I made like 5 other variants that I didn't save. I made those final 2 and had you and some other people say which one was your favorite. I'm like, this is what I'm gonna do for the Green Stars. That's the perfect idea. And that thumbnail ended up. I made an alternate one that was just like how I normally would. I A/B tested it. The alternative, the one that I end up sticking with did way better. That's what I did for the rest of the Green Star streams. And I try to keep that mentality of using, mainly the big things I was the game logo just feels kind of silly. Like like, okay, it's Galaxy 2. You should know that. Or at the very least, most people probably aren't clicking it because it's Galaxy 2. Probably just clicking because it's a Mario stream. Or it's Astrobot. It's like, okay, I have Astrobot in the thumbnail. You know it's Astrobot. you know?
Yeah.
But no, yeah.
Well, it gives the content a little bit more of its identity too. Like you're not sticking a logo on it to feel like it's like putting a Nintendo logo on all your streams. Like you're not a Nintendo streamer. Like
yeah.
you do Nintendo related stuff, but like that level of like just having your content stamped by just that is like you just it gives it a bit more of an identity.
I used to put my logo in all my thumbnails. I don't do that anymore.
I do remember that.
That was very early on.
Mm-hmm.
I think I stopped that after about a year, or probably 2 years, honestly.
Yeah.
But I like that. My big thing was like, okay, how do you know it's like mine? And I like the border. The border's a nice way.
And then the font coloration.
Yeah,
and it's definitely a good way.
And you just make the thumbnail inside the border.
Yeah,
it gives you sight. At first, I was like, man, I don't like that. It gives you less space. But it's like, oh no, you just scale everything down slightly. It's the same thumbnail.
Yeah.
But no. Now all the you know where I got that idea from?
Where?
Mr. Beast. Honestly, and it came to me because he talks about
the border.
The border, yes, but I'm gonna explain how I thought about it. So he talked about how he tried different ideas for thumbnails, and like he always is trying different ones, of course, because it's who he is. But the big thing for him is his face is in every thumbnail because like you see like oh it's a Mr. Beast video, you know whatever. But I thought about that day. I'm like, how do you know it's me? And from there, I got to the border idea. So I didn't like the idea of my face being all thumbnails. So I'm not really in. Well, I guess I have the webcam. I don't really think about the webcam anymore. I used to. I used to hate that. It's the same cam. This same camera I used for the streams. I used to hate that camera being in front of me. I don't like it. But like now, I don't even. I forget that you can see me. Like I don't do anything. I put clothes on and all that. I don't do anything weird, but it's kind of like, oh, like I forget that this is here to the point of like I won't realize if it's like off center some days because it likes to flip flop around all the time.
Well, and a lot of times like chat, they either will or won't tell you, and then you'll just be looking back and it's like it was off center for 2 hours and no one said anything.
I've done one stream where I was muted
the
entire stream, and like no one told me.
What was that?
People were legitimately
like when I was streaming Minecraft for a while.
No, this is a long time ago.
Oh, a long time ago.
This was it when I was? I think it's when I was doing my 100% Odyssey series several years ago. This was before. This might be before I even had 1,000 subscribers. But I had a couple people in chat, and I remember like talking with Spawn, and the chat wasn't very active. But I was like, sometimes we used to have an active chat for a stream, and that's more what I took out of that. And I think it was like I don't remember when. I think I realized it, and I was just like, I think I just stopped streaming after that. I was like, I'm done. I was so upset, and I was like, how does this happen?
You just get into it too much.
Yeah, no, but no, it's I don't know. I don't have much more to say on that, but
I would definitely say that your content has aged pretty well.
I beg to differ. Gosh, I need to stop saying that.
You beg to differ?
I need to stop saying it because now I'm just saying it as a part of my vocabulary. I beg to differ. That's a whole nother topic. I don't like looking back on a lot of my old content.
So you're saying it's aged badly?
A lot of it. Have you seen my Legends Arceus series recently?
No.
I look back on that very nostalgically, and then I watched this replay of it like a few days ago, and I was not happy. I was like, Joey, you're too close to the mic. You can hear the computer in the background. You can all the little imperfections that I guess is why people like the content.
You get to see someone grow. You get to see things change.
That's why. Okay, that's legitimately why I don't like deleting any content on my channel. Because it's all there, but because I think it's those imperfections that you see and let you grow, and that's why I think Super Mario Galaxy is the worst aged game of the Mario series. And since then, we've seen the series grow, but legitimately, that game. I find it harder to go back to Galaxy than any other Mario. Let me specify, any other 3D Mario game. I don't think it's aged terribly. I think it's but as I was thinking about this, as we talked about this before, that was the first game that came to my mind.
Mm-hmm.
That used to be my absolute favorite Mario game, and is no longer. Well, sorry, Galaxy 2 is always my favorite, but that used to be like right behind Galaxy 2. And at one point, I liked it more than Galaxy 2, but over the years, it's gone further and further down the pedestal. I like 64 more than Galaxy, not by much, but by like a little bit. It's that era of gaming where like they almost had everything figured out, almost had all the technology they needed, but didn't quite have it. They didn't quite have it all together yet. Where this is all those, like we were just saying, all those little imperfections. Whereas it's not a game I desire going back to anymore. And that could be part of it for me too. I've played it so many times growing up. It was my Mario game growing up, but like Galaxy 2 though, I think the difference between Galaxy 1 and Galaxy 2 is Galaxy 1 perfected. And I've been saying that for years, even before I thought Galaxy was, it went further down my list for me. But I feel like that's, Galaxy 2 took what Galaxy 1 did, cleaned it up, polished it up. I've talked about this before. I feel like Galaxy is kind of the beginnings of like the sanitized Mario era. We're not there yet, but like a lot of things you see there on like 3D Land, 3D World, the new Soup games, and there's a lot of stuff they broke away from when they came to Odyssey.
Yeah.
And all, the last 8 years of the franchise. But Galaxy, I don't think it's bad, but like since then, I've 100%ed every 3D Mario game. Yeah, I think so.
It would take maybe a few.
Yeah, I believe I've all the main ones at least. And like Sunshine is one of my favorites. Sunshine's right behind Galaxy 2 for me now. For me, it goes Sunshine. Oh, sorry, Galaxy 2, Sunshine, 3D World, then Odyssey. Odyssey. A lot of people think Odyssey's my favorite. I just find it extremely replayable. But it's not. It's number 4, and then 3D Land I find hard to play because I only ever played it once, and I haven't played it in like a decade.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna throw 3D Land in here, but then it'll be 64, then Galaxy.
When you said, I was listening to what you're saying. When you said Sunshine was your favorite, my mind just instantly went to the Brindlebuff Sunshine.
Sunshine's like the best one. Like I do honestly, I can see myself over the years. Maybe if I get like now that I have 100%, it's Galaxy 2, done the green sauce and all that. I've honestly, and probably it's because I just did it. If I had to pick between the two, I'd go back to Sunshine right now. Honestly, of all of them, I'm kind of interested to go back to 64. It's been a hot mess to play 64. Not that I'm planning to do it like tomorrow, but if I had to pick a 3D Mario game, but out of all of them, like I would rather 100% all of Galaxy 2 right now than beat Galaxy.
It's interesting you talk about how like that one is your childhood like Mario game that you played a lot as a kid, and so I wonder if some of like the whole realizing that a game has aged a bit more than you realized is like has to do a little bit with nostalgia. I feel like it's definitely a part of it, but just like you have memories of a game and then you go back to play it and then you're hit with the reality of, oh, this is really odd.
Yeah.
Like not bad necessarily. Like there might be bad things, but it's just like it's just different and it's not as fine-tuned as a series might be later. Cuz like for me, something like that is like Pokemon.
Yeah.
Pokemon has changed a lot throughout the years in terms of like
for the better, in my opinion.
For the better or for the worse, it's up in the air. I don't think too much for the worse. But going with that, I think at the very least the bar was very low when they started because so Red and Blue and Yellow to a different extent, but I feel like Yellow is the most polished out of the Gen 1.
Yeah, Gen 1's the polished.
But the original Red and Blue, the games that started like the Pokemon craze, it's kind of amazing to me that they started a craze because you can play them.
Yeah.
You can play them.
I think that's more. It's very similar to, honestly, jumping ahead a bit, the fourth Zelda game.
Yeah.
It was just the first of its kind, and that alone gives it a lot of credit. Like, it's not like Skyrim is praised as much as it is. It was the first one to do the open world style with white.
Mm-hmm.
That game came out today. Like it wouldn't be nearly as like it's what I think Elder Scrolls 6 has taken how long? It was announced back in 2018,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, oh, it's almost done. Like just look at that. It's like that's why we've waited this long. Because since then we've had Elden Ring, we've had Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, we've had both Horizon Zero Dawn games.
A lot of games kind of in that vein that have
Mm-hmm.
kind of done it a little better.
For Genshin Impact, that was a big one.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm forgetting one, but that's some of the big hitters that we've had.
Yeah.
Sonic Frontiers.
Sonic Frontiers.
That's its own kind of, because that's more the open zone.
Something. You're talking about the first Zelda. That one's definitely one that I think has. So, I've never played through the first Zelda. Have you ever played through it?
I have played and beaten that first game.
I never have. I remember when our friend Lucas, good friend of ours, when he was playing through it, he really enjoyed the whole aspect of like discovering how to play the game. Like he made a physical paper map and all that, and I think that as a concept is cool. But when I think about like anyone else doing that, I'm like, I feel like people would.
So the manual of the game.
Yeah.
It came with pretty much a strategy guide. The manual was a strategy guide. It had a map. It pretty much told you not be able to beat the game, but like here's all the maps, here's all the dungeons. Like you needed that. It's stuff that like in later Zelda games, like you got to go to Dragon Roost Island next to get the do, and it's like okay, like or even like in Breath of the Wild,
like waypoints.
Yeah, like Breath of the Wild goes on a bit more like with the Skyrim approach. Like here's the 4 waypoints and yada yada. But stuff that like at the time they just couldn't put on that 8 megabyte cartridge. They had it all in that, and I call it a guide game. Mainly just because it's like you don't have to, but you really need a guide when you play that game. At least if you want to play it and not spend like 40 hours with it. Which is not my type, not my cup of tea. With Zelda, I'm like okay, like when I played through that game, I had a digital version of the guide on the other screen. I played through the whole game with it, and I had a good time with it. I enjoyed it. I don't think it was like stellar or anything. That is a game, honestly, I think has not aged that well.
But that concept of like just being thrown into an environment and not necessarily
that's like the whole basis of Breath of the Wild.
Yeah,
they said they recreated the first Zelda game in the Breath of the Wild engine before they designed any of Hyrule in that game. That was one of the first things they did.
God, I'd love to see that game one day.
I would love to see that.
But they'll never.
Never show us. But they just released that for like $10. That alone, people would
just
buy.
Put it like on a bonus for like when you remaster.
Put it in the Nintendo Museum.
That would be fun.
Nintendo, they have a whole floor that you're not allowed to film on, and it has all these prototype things that we have heard of and seen like little bits of. And I'm like, that alone, I'm like, take my money.
You need to get the meta glasses for that.
Yes. I wonder. I don't know. Apparently, they're very strict.
I'm afraid they're gonna catch on, especially with the people seeing the Switch 2 stuff with that.
I do want to get not specifically the meta glasses, but
just like some sort of system to do that.
Yeah, one of the smart glasses. I want to get one of those eventually.
They're cool. They're a very cool concept.
I'm thinking about getting the laser eye surgery. And if I did get that, like, I don't need these glasses. I've said that before, but like, I do feel like I just look better with glasses, maybe because I've worn them for so long. But if
they definitely become a part of the face.
Yeah, like I feel like I look like my eyes look really big without them.
Because I have the same thing with facial hair now. Like I think on the internet I've been seeing a lot with facial hair, but for a while I didn't have it as much.
I'm just lazy. I don't think I look good with facial hair. I'm just lazy, and
I don't think I look bad without it, but I look. It's like if you took off your glasses, it's not you look bad. You just look weird.
I could get that.
So it's like for the most part, I kind of keep it on. But anyways, something that's interesting, and when I was thinking about like games that kind of haven't aged well or games that have aged great. Like I think in the little text that I sent you when we were talking about like games that have aged like wine or like milk. Which I think is an interesting dichotomy between the two. Because age is good for some things, but not for others. But the game that I feel like maybe has aged the best, I don't know like if there's an objective list you can make, but like...
I think I know what you want to say.
I feel like Tetris.
I was going to say Tetris.
Tetris is like the game.
Okay. Except the original version of Tetris does not have the hold button.
That's like the one thing though. And even at that, like you could still play.
You can still play it, but I won't like it's one of those things I'm like, that's such a quality of life thing.
I would
love
say
it.
I don't know. It's definitely a big part, but like just in general, like that as a concept of Tetris being like a puzzle game. I feel like puzzle games typically are ones that age pretty well. Although I think about Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, not a game that's aged bad, but just like
I get
the hike in difficulty so quickly.
The story mode,
is like just so crazy. But it's Puyo Puyo.
Functionally, like you can play the Voices mode, and you're not gonna have any issues. There's like I can play that, and then go and play Puyo Puyo Tetris 2, and I get the same experience I got from the Genesis and NES version of the respective.
But that's such an interesting thing about games too, is like playing a different version, like that might be newer or later, but still having that same kind of experience.
They just released that it's a Tetris collection they just released, and it's made by that company that makes like the really cool collections of old games. They pretty much got like all the versions of Tetris that like no one's heard about. Putting the compilation, and it has all these bonus features. It comes with a 2-hour documentary, not the movie, like not like the thriller
Tetris movie,
not the thriller movie, but it's just like your normal documentary, that you can only give you get the game. Which is really sick. But I want to get that, but it has like Tetris DX on the Game Boy Color, and it has all these. It has like a version that was on like the BS Nintendo console. That's what it was called. That's actually what it's called.
The BS,
because it's that's what they call the games, because it was Zelda BS. The Satellaview. I forgot what the broadcast system. That's what it called.
Oh, that one. Yeah, I remember.
I couldn't remember what the BS stood for. No, the Satellaview, which I would love to own one of those. But for the SNES. But no, yeah, that but that's what that whole compilation is, and that's really cool. But yeah, like Tetris, you have those. I think the biggest example is Tetris Effect. Like that game is phenomenal.
But it doesn't change. It doesn't.
The gameplay
really
isn't
change
different
that much about Tetris. It's just more.
The only thing it
presents it in a new form.
Yeah, you have I forget what they call it. I think it's called the zone meter, where you can trigger it and everything freezes, and you can get a full. You can do and they'll be like, you got the Octa Tetris, and there was one person, they got the best Tetris player, and after like 2 weeks. He finally got, I forgot what they called it, if you got the whole board filled in one zone, which they thought was impossible. But there is something in the programming. It's not just like the ultimate Tetris. It has like a really long, like scientific sounding name, but it was really sick. I watched a video about it. But no, that's a game I'm like I feel that's like Tetris. That's like another game I think it aged well, like Pac-Man.
I was gonna say
Pac-Man,
like,
but then have you ever played Championship Edition?
Maybe a little bit.
I love specifically Championship Edition 2, but both of them are pretty much the same game. Championship Edition 2 is just kind of like for the newer consoles. That is like, that's how I feel about Tetris Effect with Pac-Man. It's like you still have the original, if you just want to play the original, whatever. But like, if you just kind of want to, like, I feel like that's Pac-Man 2. That is like, if I was going to make a sequel to Pac-Man, this is what I would make. Not freaking the weird point-and-click adventure game on the SNES. Not Pac-Man World, as much as I love those games.
Not
like
what is
Ghostly
the
Adventures?
Well, not the game that's about to come out.
This one is what to come out.
The weird Pac-Man.
Shadow Labyrinth.
Yeah, this is not Pac-Man 2.
That's the prequel.
That's the prequel.
Honestly,
to Pac-Man.
If they pull out twist at the very end, I would applaud for that. Honestly, if it's at the end,
I just don't know how that would fit. But I mean,
well, just because the little you have that little drone that looks like Pac-Man, and just at the end, like it just shows him like he in like the neon maze in the future.
This is completely unrelated. I really hate the movie Pixels. Not because it's like for the objective
Adam
reason.
Sandler.
No, I love Adam Sandler. Not for the objective reasons to hate that movie. I hate that every time I think about Pac-Man, I think about that scene in the movie where it's like they're in the cars and like Pac-Man is big, or and like.
See, I think of the very beginning because he got I forget his name, but the guy who created Pac-Man.
Yeah, that part too, where he's there
like,
and then his arm gets.
He's like Pac-Man. He's like, he is my son.
He is my son.
He is not evil. And then he goes up, and it's just.
I freaking hate that.
God, I have a bruise on my arm.
But no,
that hurt.
anytime I think about Pac-Man, though, I think it's because I saw that movie when I was so young, when I was like first learning about what Pac-Man was.
See, like at that point, I had already Pac-Man World was like one of my childhood games, like early childhood, like couldn't beat the first level childhood, so like I knew what Pac-Man was. I played the arcade game at my local washland. Like I knew we all played it at our local washland. Let's not kill ourselves.
Or insert random place that has arcade games here.
Random place.
Well, random place, like you see them everywhere.
That's true. When you said that, I was like, what arcades are around except for Dave & Buster's?
It's your local library.
Your local they have an arcade one of it, but you have to keep it muted.
You have to have it on silent at our local Best Buy.
The local man, I'm so upset they don't have. It's because Arcade One of isn't as big as it once was, but they don't have like the retail presence they used to. Because I would love just going to Walmart
and sit and play Pac-Man for an hour and just be like,
I would get.
Please leave. And I'm like, well, I'm about to get the high score.
I would get the high score in all the games. I always do my thing. This is how you can dox me. I always do Joe is here. Or Joe was here if it lets me do that many digits. We know I do JOISHER. HER if I don't have enough, but HRERE. Joe is her, Joe is here, whatever I could fit. But it's supposed to be like license plate, like Joe is here, or Joey was here. So if you ever find that at an arcade machine, I have been there. You could find me.
Take that for what you will.
Yeah.
But no, something kind of circling back to Pokemon though, because as much as those first games have not aged the best, and I was talking about this before, genuinely, the Pokemon that game that I think is the best is Fire Red and Leaf Green. I think they are, and I know you're kind of like you're turning your face, but I feel like I don't
disagree for them being really good games. I want to make that clear. I do like them.
Top down, not three. Well, I'll say
Legacy,
not three. Yeah, Legacy.
I think Legacy's best.
Legacy. I know. I think it's partly because I haven't played Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and I haven't gone through that whole thing. I just feel like Pokemon is best when it is just not simple, because Pokemon isn't simple, but just like classic Pokemon. And so you have Kanto. Like, I'm not a diehard Gen 1er. It's not my favorite Gen by a long shot, but I feel like those games are just so polished. Like, there's like not everything from modern Pokemon games that's nice, like no autosave, no automatically like having your XP share like shared throughout your party, which I know people are very mixed on. Like, they either love that or hate that.
I'm indifferent, to be
honest. But I like that you have the option to unlock the XP share of the game. You just have to catch 50 Pokemon, but you do the normal training method, or you get that and then you do it. But I feel like just those games, if you want a Pokemon experience, like if the Fire Red and not Fire Red, if Red and Blue came out today, just as like some sort of like indie monster catching game, I feel like they wouldn't do as good. But I feel like if Fire Red and Leaf Green, just how
very polished
that game is, I feel like it would.
I can agree with that. Like my when it comes to Pokemon games, I have all the mainline ones. My favorite is I almost said Pokepark. That's my actual favorite. But
Pokepark 2
Wonders Beyond. The one where Darkrai sacrifices himself at the end. He canonically dies in that game. That is like literally. They have a tombstone. They have a funeral for him. That game is really dark.
Darkrai like a ghost?
No, but he canonically dies. And it's heavily implied that it's Ash's Pikachu and Dawn's Piplup in the games. So that's I like to think it's part of the anime universe.
But Darkrai is seen in the anyways.
No, like after we like this is the last appearance of Darkrai in the anime universe. Like I'm sure after like Unova they like stopped using him.
Oh no, he was in I think he was in the Sword and Shield anime.
Oh well, he was definitely in the Hoopa movie.
Yeah,
that had all. Okay, so it happens after the Hoopa movie.
But anyways, this specific Darkrai's dead.
No. Oh, that's right, because Hoopa uses the multiverse. So he pulls legendaries from different universes. They say that,
right?
Because it's not the legendaries don't recognize Ash. Most of them don't. Mewtwo does. Mewtwo is Mewtwo. But most of them don't. Even ones that should know him, because that's how Latios and Latias come back. Because one of them dies at the end of the fifth movie.
Mm-hmm.
I forget which one, but one of them dies. It's a lot of death in the anime, but no. So Hoopa bought a Darkrai from another dimension, and that's the Darkrai you see in like the Sword and Shield anime, probably in Journeys, and the Darkrai we saw in like the Unova era movies and the Sinnoh era movies.
Is dead.
He died because Pokepark 2 is a Unova game because Oshawott in it, and Oshawott's from Unova. And that's how I know it's from Unova. And so Darkrai dies at the end of that. So canonically, by the end of the Unova anime, Darkrai is dead. And any of the PSC after that, the Kalos movie Hoopa, as long as there's no PS for him between that and the Kalos Hoopa movie, which I doubt there is. I doubt he appears in the freaking Kalos series. That means that that's the multiversal version from another dimension of Darkrai.
Denmark. Top text, bottom text, Pokemon lore, Pokemon lore. Just that whole conversation.
That way, though, you know those fake podcast clips that were going on for like a year. That was like, did you know Sonic's middle name was Maurice? That probably just peaked in my but like I like reminds me of those of like I got so many Sonic ones. It was like, did you know Sonic actually hooked up with Mina Mongoose? Who? This actually happened in the comics. This is Archie. But it's like, no, he's like, who's Mina Mongoose? That doesn't sound like Amy. I hate that.
Anyways, I think you were about to say before the Pokemon part.
Scarlet and Violet is the best game. It is what I always dreamed a Pokemon game would be. Honestly, more Legends Arceus, but for mainline games. And now, especially now with Legends that one where you actually have the real-time battles, which is how I think. Okay, let me not say how I think. How I perform my RPG battles. I rephrase because I don't hate turn-based battles. I just prefer the real-time ones.
You gotta take your turn, man.
You gotta. What is that from?
You gotta take your turn.
What's that from?
That's not from anything.
There's like a thing that's maybe not from, but I know there's things that you gotta take your turn. You can't just. You can't just beat up Geodude. You gotta let Geodude punch you, then Charmander can punch him back.
Yeah, that's Pokemon.
Pokemon invented turn-based battles. But no, yeah, like I don't know. Some people are going to say that Scarlet and Violet aged badly.
I mean, it's interesting with Pokemon because going back to the nostalgia factor, you definitely have that a lot with Pokemon as well. Because like everyone's favorite game is the one they grew up on. Because like
not me.
Well, you're the exception because you're weird. But like for me, I love Gen 7. I love Sun and Moon. Like those will always be my personal favorite. Not the games that I think are the best objective Pokemon games for Fire Red and Leaf Green.
Yeah.
But like those will always be my favorite just because I was the age you are as a character in that game. I think it was like 11 when I played those games. So it's fun. Yeah. It's like that's my Pokemon experience. So naturally everyone else is wrong, and Sun and Moon are the best games ever, and Gen 7 for life.
I don't know why I made this comparison. Whenever I think of Gen 7 Pokemon, I think of Mario and Luigi Dream Team. I think it's because they both came around the same era. They both have used to be 2D pixelated series, and then this is around the time they went to full-on 3D models. And so I'm like I look at both of them as like, this is a really good entry, but not as good as the last one. And the last one was the last really good entry in this series. And after 7 and Dream Team, it went severely downhill. That's how I look at both of those series. I disagree with both opinions. But it's always, some reason I've always had Gen 7 and Dream Team like as the same. I don't know why. I've always seen them together. I don't know. This weird thing for me.
Interesting thought. What do you think is the worst aged game ever? Ever created? Because I was thinking about that, and I'm just like, I feel like it has to be a game that's not already bad. Because, like, you can't just say, like, oh, Sonic 06, like, it's the worst age game ever.
No.
It's like, it was already...
06 also has good qualities to it. I'm thinking of a game that if I played it now, I could get no fun out of.
Yeah. But maybe a game that when it was originally there, it was, like, people enjoyed it.
Like, 06, there was, even back then...
We're looking at the game.
Well, even... Yeah, we'll look at the game wall. But like, even back then, like, there was... stuff about 06 that's that's fun. Like that's like definitively it's hard for me to pick. Like I feel like an easy choice would probably be like something like Madden '93.
Yeah.
Like to pick kind of like a silly one. Not even like silly, more just like more of a like your deadpan serious answer, like something like Madden '93.
The boring answer.
Yeah, or like freaking Dick Vitale's greatest college hoops.
Brunswick Pro Bowling.
That's on the Wii U. That doesn't count. If it's on, how I can't believe you remember that name because I know you can't read that spine.
I saw Brunswick and I was like, oh yeah, it's Pro Bowling.
Okay, wait a minute. Now I'm curious if that is the title. Wait a minute.
We have lost.
It is Pro Bowling. Yeah, I'm not bringing it on. We're not.
This is the worst aged game, guys.
Oh, let's see what the Oh, there isn't even any screenshots on the back.
For when you're too much of a man to play Wii Sports.
Honestly,
I think that's like a Scott the Watch joke or something.
Really? With over 40 wheel bowling balls.
Wow.
Wow.
It did what the Wii Sports could never do.
Well, you only play this with the gamepad. So it does not use motion control.
Do you like, is it like app?
You probably use buttons.
Oh, that's boring. Why would you ever make... God, we're sidebarring really hard.
Like they also made the freaking manual black and white.
Yeah, they grayscale it. What the heck?
All Wii U games, not all of them, but all the third-party ones do that.
Because when the Wii U came out, we were all drained of all of our joy.
Because budget cuts. Those games barely had manuals.
Gosh, that's so crazy.
Switch 2 should bring back manuals.
I guess if, God, for how much you're going to be paying for them, it better have some sort of manual in it. But anyways, that's a topic for another day. If I had to say what I think the worst aged game is...
I got to pick like a series.
You know, I will say a game that I think is aged
like
really
the Force
poorly.
Kid Icarus game. Sorry to interrupt you. I'm just thinking, but Force Kid Icarus game.
So this is a bit more personal to me because I know people will like kind of look at me funny when I say this, but like Mario, okay, specifically the Mario 64 part of Super Mario DS. I feel like that control scheme...
Okay, wait. What do you? Okay.
Specifically that part because I really like the Luigi mini. Like the minigame part.
Okay, that's a little side. Okay, you saying that like okay, let me.
I feel like people are really nostalgic for
you
those.
said that like if I was like okay, Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury, like I don't think like if I feel like you said that like there was like a whole nother like game.
I consider them whole other games.
I don't.
It's just
I didn't even know they were there as a kid. To be honest,
they were the only things I ever
you have to unlock. You do have to unlock them.
Oh, well, I had to cheat. That already had them all.
Oh, well, that's how you... Yeah, see, I never... Because you had to talk to Toad in the game room. And I never knew about
But
that.
I feel like it's definitely a really, like... Because that's just from my childhood of, like, that was a game I did play. Not knowing anything about Super Mario 64. But I just feel like the control scheme of that...
Like the D-pad alone.
Well, you have the D-pad, and then you have the stylus that you have to use, and then you have the buttons.
You don't have to use a stylus.
No, but, like...
I would rather have my skin rub off from using the D-pad than use a stylus.
It is an option, and it was the intended way to play it.
That's true. At least it wasn't like Phantom Hourglass where you had to use a stylus. That's why Spirit Tracks is the best one because it gives you the choice.
Choice is good when it comes to games.
It has a train. I was a Spirit Tracks. It's my favorite Zelda game I've never played. I own it. Never played it. No,
but that's like the only one that's ever stuck out to me. And it's like, man, I feel like this isn't that really fun.
It's not a bad one. Like in the pick, like I feel like for a lot of series, it's the fourth game. Like Sonic, it's the fourth Sonic game. It's not bad. Like, but like if I think if you give the fourth Sonic game to a kid, they're not going to really enjoy it. I feel like you could give them 2 or 3, and they would get some enjoyment out of. Like, probably the fourth one still isn't on freaking NSO. 2 and 3 are. NSO is not. Or Sonic 1 is not. But 2 and 3, and then of course like Mania and Superstars especially. But like the fourth Sonic game, the fourth Mario game, I think to a lesser extent. the fourth Zelda game we talked about, like I don't know, Spyro. I guess obviously, except for like the fourth, like all the fourth Spyro game is pretty good. The fourth
I
Crash
feel like
game,
the OG Spyro games probably held up pretty
they've
decent.
all held. Yeah, like especially just playing the remakes. All they did was update it graphically, and they also just made made the control scheme the same for all three games. Because the fourth game they had it the camera control was locked to just the triggers. Well, because the DualShock wasn't a thing yet. You just had the one analog stick.
Yeah.
Or sorry, you just had the D-pad. You had neither. And then DualShock support later. But outside of that, like that's the only issue with the fourth one. And even then, if you had a DualShock, you could play with the two sticks.
And that's not really a game issue itself. It's more just the
system.
Yeah.
But you can say the same thing about 64 DS. To be fair.
True.
Because that's
true.
Yeah, to be fair, right, so we won't pull that back up.
More or less. I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit more glaring in DS, but
I would say it's about the six.
Granted, I've never played
a Spyro. I've only done it once just for fun. You can still do that in Reunited Trilogy. They do let you do it, which I like it more in Crash because Crash is more just hallway design. I do prefer Crash with the D-pad. Not like the later games, like the fourth, pretty much just the fourth game.
Yeah,
because it was made with the D-pad in mind. But like when I play like 2D platforms, I use the D-pad. I use the D-pad for most 2D games. Puzzle games, I always use the D-pad. I cannot, because
that makes sense.
Can I use the stick with puzzle games? Something I do use. So like, I don't feel like a lot of people do this. Some of my top ads people think I'm crazy. When I am navigating menus in a game, I use the D-pad. I don't use the stick. Because like, say there's a menu of like 5 choices, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instead of like holding down.
I think you're crazy because I remember like playing Minecraft on the Wii U. I used to do that.
Minecraft, I use the D-pad navigate all the menus
because it used to be because like the stick was just so sensitive. Especially with Minecraft, like where you kind of want it to be a little bit more sensitive, because I feel like in Minecraft
me.
Yeah,
playing at 50 sensitivity.
I feel like it's just too stiff for me, but like for me, it's definitely then like, okay, I want something a bit more precise than just that.
Yeah, no, I feel that. No, I guess the one other game, the thing that spoiled this whole thing, I'm shocked it didn't come up already, was Sonic Adventure 2.
I was waiting for it.
I thought you were gonna bring it up. I figured it'd be one of your games.
I'm saving it for last.
Gotcha. Okay. I wrote it down. I was like, just in case he doesn't have it, like he probably does. No, yeah, SA2. Especially watch.
Crazy thinking that I played that game now, because that used to be on my list.
You played pretty much the whole game.
Yeah, I have, except for just the.
You just have the ending.
Yeah.
But no, SA2. So just seeing it through your lens has been really interesting. But like even over the years, I have preferred SA1, Sonic Adventure 1, more than SA2.
Yeah.
Now, I feel like, and it goes back to that Galaxy thing. I feel like with Sonic Adventure 2, I like Adventure 2 more than Galaxy. But I feel like it's that era of game where like they were really trying to push the limits, almost to the point of there was cracks on it come through. They were just happy to get a 3D game working with Adventure and like with 64 and Sunshine. When it came to this, they're like, okay, we really want to like, and I feel like I think Galaxy's more polished than Adventure 2. But with Adventure 2, I feel like you start having some of those cracks of like, there's a lot of issues start popping up.
It's definitely a case of they're throwing a lot at you, and like a lot, like just swapping between play styles, like pretty much every level you swap to a different play style, which is a learning curve, but like that's not my main issue. It's just that
it's multiple games that do that.
Yeah, and it's fine, but it's more just because they're throwing so many different play styles with so many different characters that feel different. Maybe they aren't like that. Like, we talked about how I think Shadow in SA2 feels so much better to play as than Sonic. We still didn't figure out if that was
we should have messed around with that.
We should have, but
going multiplayer and just play.
But I think because they're focused so much on like doing different play styles, like that's a good idea. But because their attention on that is so widespread, that doesn't feel like any of them kind of have their moment to shine of just being good in themselves. They're fine, but they have a bunch of like glaring issues, or like there's just parts of them that feel unbalanced or unfinished. Not unfinished in the way that like Sonic 06 would be unfinished or Sonic Boom, but just unfinished in that not completely thought out to its max potential.
It was limited,
but it's definitely potential. Like
Yeah.
it's like you said, there's a lot of potential. I
Like
think
Sunshine has a similar thing of you could tell. Like even Miyamoto's come back and said like they didn't. That was the only rushed Mario game, at least to the extent of like that one. I think that game got made in about a year or two. I think it was 2 years.
Oh dang.
Like most Mario games have a more, even back then, have more time. They just didn't have a lot of time to develop that game. It's why it was supposed to come out alongside Luigi's Mansion around like a couple
Around
months
the-
later.
Yeah.
Well, it got pushed all the way to late or summer 2002. It was supposed to be I think much sooner, but they just didn't have time. They had to cut a lot of features from that game. There's a lot of cut content in Sunshine, more than any other Mario game. At least like in the game files, maybe not conceptually, but it is. I think that it's that thing of like with Sonic. Sorry, going back to Sonic Adventure 2, they like okay, you have this. Sonic Adventure was made in 1999. Adventure 2 came out 2001. So they had about I think they had less than 2 years because I think the months were kind of thrown off. I think Adventure 2 came out early 2001. Or Sonic Adventure came out September 1999. So it's like 1999, 9999. So they probably had about a year and a half to make this game. They had a third, I think it was actually like a fifth of the team. Because it's when Sega was pretty much getting ready to file for bankruptcy. They didn't, but they were like completely falling apart as a company. Sonic Team was just sent to America, and they were pretty much like, so y'all aren't coming home. Y'all now here. Have fun, make Adventure 2. Because they were always supposed to go over there to help with them port in Adventure 1. And then they're like, now you're just going to make Adventure 2. Here's like 2 more people to help you out. Okay, bye. I think it was a 16-person team actually making the game. Obviously, there's more people marketing the greater greater scheme of things. But if you look at those credits, look at like it's like 2 level designers, and a lot of the same names pop up. I think that's a part that like we didn't have the Hubbles. It's a much more streamlined game where Adventure's levels were a lot more open. They also were just pulling a lot from Adventure. They like, here's a Child Garden, so let's add some more stuff to the Child Gardens. Okay, that's done. They added the multiplayer, which even though something like that 2-player multiplayer mode, we haven't played it yet. But you can race. They made levels just for the multiplayer. They modified the levels to work in multiplayer that have lower polygon counts. They completely changed it in. Granted, and it was much more limited on the Dreamcast when they did Adventure 2 Battle. That's why it's called Battle, because they greatly expanded that multiplayer mode.
Yeah.
But even then, they still had it. They even back then Sega did DLC, and they had to make DLC for the game, and it was a whole thing. They were also developing Phantasy Star Online 2 at the same time. That comes with a demo disc of Sonic Adventure 2. Sonic the Trial, that's what they called it.
It always just goes back to like there's so much that goes into just game development specifically. So it's like you never know the full story until you do. And even at that, like there's probably still so much about that game that we don't even know. But still it goes into that whole like the story behind a game. Like I mean, you've wanted to talk about the whole development history about Sonic 06 for a long time.
There's a lot.
But at the same time, you still have Sonic 06 as a game. And taking that into account, it still can be objectively looked at as a bad game.
Yeah.
And I think in the same sense, while Sonic Adventure 2 is not a bad game, as much as my angered annoyance.
I think that's a good example of a game that's age.
Yes, it's definitely age.
Even like from when I played it as a kid, which at the time I think Unleashed was the newest game. No, Generations was the newest game. So over a decade ago, actually 15 years ago now.
Jeez.
From when I played it. I know. Next year's the 35th anniversary series. So yeah, that lines up. But so 15 years ago when I played it, back then I was like, wow, like this is really cool, and I still think it's a really cool, fun game. But I definitely have noticed a lot more of the flaws, and like I said, I've leaned more towards Adventure 1 because I just kind of like more. All in all, that game almost just feels more polished, and maybe it was in
its special way.
I feel like almost of Adventure 1 is more just the level design doesn't get in your way as much. Because it's a bit more Genesis-esque. Mainly because of stuff like the spin dash is really broken.
I think it depends on the level because I'm just thinking back to the Knuckles levels from Sonic Adventure
Yeah.
1. Those ones are a little rough.
Yeah, but Knuckles levels they're also a lot smaller than SA2,
Mm-hmm.
and they're also just reusing segments of Sonic's level.
Yeah.
But then that isn't too bad. Those levels come by a lot quicker than they do in SA2.
Mm-hmm.
Tails' levels are just Sonic's levels. I think that's the other thing. They were like, okay, I feel
How
they
can we-
developed Sonic's level because the last part of Sonic's level is the entirety of Knuckles' level in Speed Highway.
Mm-hmm.
The fourth part of Sonic's Speed Highway is Tails' whole Speed Highway. I don't think I don't think any other characters go to Speed Highway. But even in like Twinkle Park, Big's whole part of Twinkle Park is like 2 seconds in Sonic's level. It's like 10 seconds in Amy's level, you know.
They're definitely trying to get the most out of their level design
Yeah.
just for the whole game
Well,
in one.
SA2, they were like, okay, we are making all these levels. And something like Whale Canyon shares similar design I don't want to say flaws. What's the other one? Ideas
Implement, yeah.
as Pumpkin Hill, as the same Pumpkin
Mhm.
Hill aesthetic. I think Rouge doesn't have one. Someone else also has a Pumpkin Hill level. But you have that. Obviously, the Space Colony Arc, which everyone has a level, and you have the desert theme levels, which a lot of people share. You
Mhm.
know, the only really levels I can think that are independent are Radical Highway and Cityscape.
Yeah.
And even though those two are supposed to be parallels of each other, but no, I think a lot of games. There's a lot of games. At one point, actually, I can't remember if I ever made this video public. I was going to make a series called like How Well Has It Aged? Is that what I called it? The first episode was Donkey Kong. I think I did upload that.
Oh yeah, the original Donkey Kong on the arcade one.
Yeah. And I was going to make it literally just pretty much be excuse for me to finally play a bunch of the NSO games on like NES and SNES. I didn't do much more past that first initial episode. I did like fully make a couple episodes, but I was just realized it was kind of a concept I didn't really care for. Outside of the initial idea. But
it's such an interesting thing because I feel like as much as you can objectively point out the ways a game is aged, like Sonic Adventure 2, like that's still wide wide group of people still love and adore that game, and for good reason. There's a lot to love in it, but it's like your level of willingness to put up with certain things definitely depends on how much you care about it. And if I'm like the biggest Sonic fan ever, then yeah, I'll look aside the few times where I died and it felt a little bit unfair because like I totally jumped, but it pulled me back in. But I definitely shouldn't have died. I'm still a little salty, but compared to like
playing for controller drift, and I realized that was probably maybe why you had a lot of issues. I've grown. I know how to play with the controller drift now because it's not that bad. I just know to flick the stick back every time I need to like get it back.
Yep.
So I had to deal with that in Minecraft.
That's interesting.
I deal with that. Imagine doing that in Minecraft all the
time. Yeah, no, I just
sort my sensitivities at 50.
Plug in a mouse and keyboard and play that on the Xbox.
You can't do that. I do that for City Skylines. Whenever I play City Skylines, I plug in a mouse and a keyboard, and I legitimately play City Skylines like that. There's I don't know. There's very few PC games that or games I like playing with a PC setup. Maybe even in City Skylines, it's kind of like Mario Maker. Where, like once you get used to how to control it with the controller, you realize like this is actually the best way they could do this on a controller. And once you get into a flow state, it's like, oh, this is actually really easy to do. I think Mario Maker 2, when we get Mario Maker 3 on the Switch 2, a lot of numbers being thrown out here. When Mario Maker 3 comes out on Switch 2, I think Mario Maker 2 going to look back and feel that's a very aged game. Not Mario Maker 1 though. Mario Maker 1 had the gamepad. Mario Maker 3 is going to have the mouse. And I think Mario Maker 2 does not have either of that.
It's just going to stick out weirdly.
Yeah, I think that is going to be one we're going to look back on. And like we go to try to build levels again on Mario Maker 2, it's going to be really tough going back from the mouse controls. People always say how great those mouse controls are. Like they have been heavily praised as like people were using it for Metroid Prime 4. Obviously, like some of the like Mario Party and stuff. Prime 4, it's you have the left controller as like your keyboard pretty much, and then you have your right hand, or you can swap it. But it's literally like mouse, keyboard, and just think about like this feels really bad.
Mm-hmm.
But from what almost everyone went to those events, so like this is going to be the best way to play Prime 4, and it works really well. And
Well, that makes sense because it's like as Samus, you have the
keyboard.
cannon, or you have the arm cannon as Samus.
Oh yeah.
Because like I'm thinking of like you have, assuming this is the arm that it is, but like that actually would make sense to like have that.
Maybe just in any like FPS or
Mm-hmm.
any game that you'd have a point, or like, even like I hope they give like Captain Toad a patch that just lets you use the mouse like how you would use the gamepad,
Mm-hmm.
and that little stuff like that. That's
It's definitely interesting. It's a concept to think about games that haven't aged badly now, but like might in the future due to new games. Like that's a whole other topic in itself. But,
yeah, or bad ports.
Yeah, bad ports.
that's a topic.
Mm-hmm.
I know Captain Toad Switch port's a bad port. It actually had like 5 DLC packs for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like it had all this stuff. It had Labo VR. You can play that whole game in VR, and I've done it. I've done that. Done Breath of the Wild. I would do Odyssey if it would let me. It only lets you play like 2 levels. I don't know why. And I've spectated a couple of Smash matches on Labo VR. It's really cool because you actually see, you like zoom in and look at the backgrounds. You can see out of bounds, which normally you can't see without the VR set. You see that they've actually modeled everything. Which is really cool.
That is cool.
I love Labo VR. And it's gonna be Labo VR Mario Kart.
God, talk about a game that has not aged well.
What?
Labo.
Oh, just Labo as a whole.
Labo as a whole.
Reggie did confirm that it was considered a failure. Financially, it did well. Like it did. Like they didn't like lose money on it. But they were expecting it to be like, you could see, viewers could see it. But like they had different cases. They had the black spines. They were going to be.
They wanted to be their own VR. Or whatever.
But. Well, their own like not VR because it's just the fourth one was the VR. The other they were all different.
But their own like their new gimmick.
It's a little gimmick thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's just the biggest thing was the price point. Funnily enough, it was $80, $80 and $70 for the sets. Which now we're at the point where we do get $70, $80 games. But I think essentially would be marketed to kids. That was the big thing of Labo.
Yeah.
I think they'll just being like, we're selling you a bunch of sheets of cardboard
that you get to put together
for $80.
Yourself.
But it's
fun to do it yourself.
If you like Lego, Labo kits are not that expensive to get these days. You get one for like $40.
Yeah.
Which is like half the price. I highly recommend buy like one set. Worst case scenario, but just bring it to your local recycling plant or whatever. Most places have those. At least I hope most cities do.
Yeah.
Or born it though, like whatever. But like legitimately give it a shot. I would say if you're gonna do any of them but the robot kit, the robot kit's really fun to build. It takes like 10 hours. At least it took me 10 hours. Again, I was younger at the time. It's really cool how everything works. But then like when you get to the end, you actually play the game. I think all the other ones, the games are actually fun. Like the fishing game and the variety kit, I have so much fun with. It is so much fun. It's very arcadey. But like the robot kit, it's really cool. And then you realize it's like basically just a glorified tech demo. So it's a tech demo for the Wii U. That they repurposed. And it was like, man, that's really cool. And then it's like if you want, you get a whole nother co-op campaign if you have a friend who also has a robot kit, which is just like I always wanted to do.
Such a specific use case.
You can fight each other. They have a mode you face each other, and it knows which
way you face you with a piece of cardboard.
Yes. Well, the thing is, your fist goes around the cardboard, so we just straight up punch each other.
Oh dang!
That should be a charity.
We destroy cardboard by the Labo $80 cardboard by punching each other.
I always wanted to do Wii Sports boxing, but we face each other. Probably they make boxing glove Wii remote holders. I'd love to get those. They're actually plush, and maybe we put on like some headgear, and we actually like we were trying to hit each other in the game. We actually
that would be interesting.
I think that'd be a lot of fun. I don't know who would do it with me. Marsh said if we ever met in person, we would do it without protection.
You just box.
We would just do Wii Sports, but we would actually
Wii Sports in real life.
Well, we would face each other and be like just close enough to where we might hit each other, but not close enough where we constantly hit each other. But we accidentally hit each other, kind of funny.
Yeah.
No, I think that's about it. We've been
Yeah.
going for a good minute.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
a
A lot of old games.
lot of old games, a lot of crappy games.
A lot of crappy games, but a lot of good games. A lot of
All those
games.
games are so bad.
A lot of gems.
Mm,
A lot of gems.
I don't know. I'm looking
Like
at.
Half-Life 2 on the
I'm look.
Xbox.
Oh, I was gonna say. I'm
The
looking at.
original Xbox.
I'm looking at Sonic Free Riders right now.
I think no matter what, you'll always have games that are bad. You'll always have games that are good. You always have games that are good forever, and always have games that are good for a little bit of time.
Good forever.
Yeah, like Tetris.
Wait,
Tetris is forever.
Oh, okay. Tetris.
Tetris.
That's the name of the compilation. Tetris Forever.
Ah,
That's what it's called.
well, it is.
I definitely just peeked both mics there. I definitely probably just did. We didn't talk about how we got the. I probably shouldn't be touching these because it's going to make noise.
I accidentally touched mine. I was like,
I keep
this is gonna be fun.
I know. I feel so bad for Denmark because I'm like, these mics, I'm just not used to having a mic that I can touch. And like I kept flicking it with my finger. I'm very like I don't like fidget toys, but I feel like I'm the type of person who should use them.
Yeah.
Because like I like to mess around my fingers. And like I sat here, I'm not gonna do it now, but like I was sat here and I just kept like moving it around, kinda like twirling your hair. And then I probably sat I think I did it for like a good minute. And I think these mics are good enough to when it picked it up. Because we messed around with them, it was actually pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
It needed like dead silence for it to like pick up anything. We would have to like snap paper or something.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm hoping I feel confident enough to like it wasn't that bad, especially if like a lot of it's like I was talking or you were talking, so we would drown each other out.
We're gonna hope.
I'm gonna say we did because I'm not gonna watch. I'm just gonna send him to Denmark, and he has to have fun with it afterwards. But no, we got to y'all's recommendation. We'll wrap up the episode here with this. Keep giving y'all's feedback because this was part of the
Absolutely.
feedback. You know, we heard of things about the microphone, and we are like, okay, let's get a better microphone.
Mm-hmm.
We got the better microphones. I don't know what we're going to do next. I know a lot of people talked about lighting, and we've thrown out the idea of maybe getting better lighting. Who knows?
Lighting is definitely one of them. We talked about potentially different camera setup.
Camera setup. I really want a better camera setup. I don't know what we're gonna do with the camera. I'm not happy how it looks here. I wasn't happy how it looked in the last 3 episodes. Like I don't. Honestly, the Switch 2 camera might be what we use. I'm not even joking. That is legitimately a 1080p wide angle lens camera for $50, which that's a really good deal. Maybe not for like a game apparatus, but just in general, that's a really good deal. I'm gonna get a lot of mileage out of that.
The point is, we are definitely still committed to making every episode better and better, and hopefully it has been. I mean, the first 3 episodes were recorded the same day. The first 3
in a big batch.
So they're a little, they are their own thing, but hopefully this one is a bit more refined in its.
I think this one was better. I think now, we're gonna see us grow with each episode.
Yes.
Part of me does kind of regret we did all 3 in the same batch.
Yes.
But we also had a different idea of how we were going to do it back then.
Well, it's like you said in the beginning about showing growth. Like when people come back in whenever we're doing this for 10 years and they look at, oh, what was episode 1? And they see that and it's just like, oh, they're going to see humble beginnings and hopefully we'll have a much more advanced setup in the future.
We'll have a better studio.
Yeah. A better studio that's definitely not just the streaming room.
Everyone knows it's the streaming room. Everyone knows the couch is right there.
Will they usually see this angle?
No, but like I feel like people have seen the room enough to know.
Probably.
I don't know. I would think so, but anyhow.
Anyways,
we don't. I always want to say my outro, but
don't say your outro.
I know it's not my channel.
Don't forget to say
that. That's specifically why we didn't do it on the couch, because you had the big Joey64 sign, and I've made a very deliberate point to not connect this to Joey64 pretty much like what outside of me whatsoever. I was always apprehensive about doing the announcement video because of that, because I really didn't like. But then I was like, well, I do want to bring it for my audience.
Yeah.
Like there is this sort of part of my identity that's here, but like I really want this to be its own thing. I don't want people to see this as like
you're a part of it. You are not all of it.
Yeah, like this is another channel I am a part of and own and run. Partially owned. Sorry, I'm not the only one who owns this channel.
Yes.
Though I do own the trademark.
You didn't pay the money for the trademark.
No, I pay the money for the trademark for my channel. I own that. I should buy the trademark to yours. That's what I'm gonna do for like for Christmas.
Oh, you buy it for me?
No, I buy it. And I'm like, I own you.
Oh well.
What did Disney did that with some YouTube with like some Disney YouTubers at one point because they wanted like the channel names. I forgot what it was.
I feel like it'd be less of an effort just to ask them, "Hey, can we use this channel name?" And they'd probably be like, "Okay."
No, it was Twitter accounts.
Oh,
they bought like the whites. Yeah, some. Sorry, yeah.
That's so strange. Anyways.
Yeah. Anyhow, bye.
See ya, guys.